All right, everybody, it's 5 o'clock, and at this time, the meeting will be called to order. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Always good to see smiling faces and people here to learn more about county government and take a part in government. So with that being said, I would like to ask everyone to please stand. We always begin every meeting with a prayer and a pledge, and tonight, Commissioner McPeters will lead us in our prayer, and then Commissioner Green will lead us in our pledge.
Let's pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we do call upon your holy name here this evening. Father, as we conduct county business, Father, we pray that we'd always do what's right in your sight, not in ours, but in yours. And Father, I pray that you forgive us of our sins, forgive us of our shortcomings where we fail you each and every day. And God, I pray that you bless this county, watch over us and protect us, we do pray. We thank you for our military. Father, we pray for those who lost loved ones this past week in Florida, Lord. God, you know the reason, Lord, we don't quite understand. God, I pray that you would be with those in this time of bereavement, Lord. Help us to pray for them each and every day. God, forgive us of our sins and our shortcomings. Thank you for saving us, Lord, and for your Son, Jesus. As we celebrate this Christmas season, the birth of Jesus is what it's all about. It's not about giving gifts, but it's about the greatest gift that was ever given to mankind, and that was your Son, Jesus. Just watch over us and protect us, we do pray. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, Commissioners, we have tonight's, previous night's meetings, minutes from previous meetings. What's the pleasure of the board concerning the minutes from the previous meetings as listed?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, we have tonight's agenda. Mr. Wooten, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Or commissioners, anything else?
No.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board concerning approving?
Move we approve.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, as always, in December, we had the selection of chairman and vice chairman. So at this time, I will turn the meeting over to Cheryl Mitchell, our clerk to the board, and she handles this part of the meeting. Madam Clerk.
Okay, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 150A-39, the Board of Commissioners at the first regular meeting in December shall choose one of its members as chairman for the ensuing year. The chairman is the presiding officer of the Board of Commissioners. Unless excused by rule of the board, the presiding officer has the duty to vote on any question before the board, but he has no right to break a tie vote in which he participated. The newly elected chairman will preside over the remainder of this meeting, and I will now take nominations for chair.
Madam Clerk, I would, for sake of time, move that we maintain David Walker as chairman and Tony Brown as vice chairman for the coming year.
Second.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay.
I move that nominations closed.
Second.
Do we need to?
Okay. All in favor of David Walker as chairman and Tony Brown as vice chairman, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you, and what a pleasure. I'll just say this for everybody here tonight. We've got a great board, and this board works well together, and they always work, this board does, for your benefit and to try to do what's right for the people in McDowell County. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight's business. Commissioner Vaughn does have to leave early tonight, so she'll be leaving around 5:30, Madam Clerk. We have our first appointment tonight. We have our tax assessor with us. Where's Tammy at? There you are. Come on up. She does an excellent job, and we are very fortunate to have her. And Ashley, if you don't mind, sir, lead us out and tell us what's getting ready to happen next.
Yes, sir. So about 2 years ago, Ms. Wylie was appointed to fill out the remainder of the prior assessor's term, which is typical and what usually happens. This position as tax assessor is one of a handful that the board appoints. You also have the tax collector, you have the DSS director, the county attorney, the clerk, and the manager that are board appointed. And so this falls to this board to make that appointment. And so staff, being county manager myself, would recommend that Ms. Wylie be reappointed. She has led us through the 2019 revow, did a great job with that. She was an internal hire for the position originally. In my opinion, I think the board shares this, has done a great job fulfilling that initial term, and I would recommend that she be reappointed for another.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we reappoint Ms. Wylie for tax assessor for the coming year.
Second.
Discussion.
Third, fourth, fifth.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Tammy, anything you want to say?
Thank you for the opportunity to serve again. It is a big honor, and I thank you for your support.
And so good to see you. I see a lot of your staff over here, and that's great. And so congratulations on being reappointed. We look forward to great things. Thank you so much. At this time, let's move to some old business real quick. Item A, water system update. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Yes, sir. Madam Clerk will help with the projector. We do have a map that we want to show you. A couple of months ago, staff talked about sort of the next phase of our water system growth in Nebo. We've essentially wrapped up the Stacy Hill Road project, which is about 2 miles of line, and we're adding customers each month in that segment there. But we want to always be looking at the next horizon. So we've been working on our water treatment plant permitting project. I've met with the engineer, as has Mr. DePoyster and other staff. And so we continue to have those meetings. But we want to be putting pipe in the ground as well. And so one of the areas where we have some coverage as far as infrastructure is the area north of the school. But there are some areas where there's maybe some opportunity for growth. And we want to just show you where some of the areas where we've looked at and we've talked informally as staff where we'd like to maybe have some direction. So the dark blue line, the light blue line, those are existing water lines. The dashed green lines are suggested streets that have quite a bit of density that we would recommend that we probably do door-to-door surveys as far as interest. Also talk to residents about any well issues they have as far as quantity or quality, since that information can help us with grants. But I really just wanted to get some blessing in heading back north. We've not been in this area in a while. We've worked south of 70 for quite a while, and we want to go back north and really address some of the issues there. So you can see, it's a little hard to see there, but I think there's about 70 homes or so when we counted, and that's got each street and the number of homes listed. It's quite a bit of density for the area, and recommend that we at least examine it and come back with a final project.
Okay, comments or questions by board members? Here again, we did receive a call from a citizen who lived out in that area concerning failed wells, and it looks like you've got a design for the board where it's going to loop, which is great because we're not paying for water on the ground.
That's right, light loops.
And we're expanding our water base down there too, providing the service.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we give staff permission to move forward with this and getting the surveys and the cost estimates.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay?
Thank you.
Let's go to item B under old business. This will be board appointments.
This is the second reading for the Transportation Advisory Committee. We have several vacancies. We have received one application that is from Amy Vaughn.
Okay.
We will continue to advertise. It is.
And we can vote tonight on Ms. Vaughn. Okay, second discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay? All right, let's go to item D under old business. This is the bridge name discussion. This is the new bridge that will be constructed in Sugar Hill, and Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Yes, sir. Last month, Vice Chairman Brown asked this to be on the agenda and suggested with a new bridge there at Sugar Hill Road over Interstate 40 that perhaps it might be a good opportunity to name it. Vice Chairman Brown did mention the name of Clifford Ford Miller as an idea, and I think it was your direction that it be back on the agenda for maybe other suggestions. I did talk to the city manager since the last meeting to make sure he was aware of the concept, since any proposal that goes to the DOT board does require approval from any other jurisdiction where it's involved. So they're supportive of moving forward to the next step as far as utility committee.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other nominations? Okay. There being none, looks like the board is ready to move forward, and when we meet with our city, at our city utility committee meeting, we'll go ahead and move this forward.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we name it the Clifford Ford Miller Bridge.
We have a motion, second, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. That's very fitting, because he's built a lot of bridges throughout the state, hasn't he?
And he's been very good to our community and our.
McDowell Tech, too.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's go to item E, under old business, the public shooting range update. Go ahead, Mr. Wooten, lead us out.
Yes, sir. Again, last month you heard from Gary Gardner with North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, who's the project administrator for the pending, proposed, et cetera, public shooting range on Ashworth Road. For the longest time, there's been discussion of that range being paid for with federal funds primarily, but some sort of match being met by either the state or local dollars or property. Mr. Gardner mentioned that the president had signed a bill several months ago that changed the funding allocation. So before it was, I believe, 75-25 for the cost development sharing between the federal and non-federal partners, and now it's 90%, 10% for federal and then non-federal. And so it has been the preference that with Wildlife Resources that they not use state funds as the match whenever necessary, so they can work on other projects that they have to do. So this board has been okay with the property donation if necessary, but now I've heard comments that now that it's a 10% match as opposed to 25 or greater, that there might be some desire to reconsider that. So the total cost of the project, the estimated cost is about $2.5 million, which would put the local costs at around $250,000 or $260,000. And so I'd heard feedback after Mr. Gardner's presentation that instead of granting the property to the state, there may be some interest in just making out a payment to make that local match and retaining the property as well.
I think that's a no-brainer for me, that if we can pay the match and maintain ownership of the property, that's what we need to do.
Total acreage is what, 160?
About 200.
200, it's over 200.
So therefore,
Just over 200 acres.
as Commissioner Green said, we're not tying that up, and we retain title for other projects. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd make that a motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, this time let's move to our 5:15 appointment. We have the Foothills Food Hub School Study, and we have Molly here tonight. Molly, welcome to the boardroom, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Chairman Walker, Vice Chairman Brown, Commissioners Green, McPeters, and Vaughn, thank you for having us this evening. There's rising recognition that a person's zip code is as much a predictor of their health and lifespan as their genetic code. Do they make enough money to feed their families? Do they live in a walkable neighborhood? Do they have access to health care? Do they have access to healthy food? In extension, we value our nutrition education programs, but oftentimes that educational message can be lost if people are dealing with other issues. We need to help people make better choices in what they eat. We can do that by providing healthier choices, available, affordable, and accessible. In McDowell County, we have had several successful collaborations aimed at alleviating food insecurity. One of those partnerships was with the Foothills Food Hub and the Foothills Community School. Foothills Community School was created in 2016 to provide an option to the other traditional middle school model of West and East McDowell middle schools. It enrolled over 100 people, but the enrollment has grown to nearly 200 people in over those 3 years. Students at Foothills Community School are encouraged to learn through a topic that they are passionate about. To do this, the staff organizes North Carolina standards that the students identify issues and design solutions through science, technology, engineering, and math. Their first theme-based project this past semester concerned our food system. And here to tell you more about the Foothills Community Schools project is Mr. Tracy Childers and several of his students. We also will hear about the collaboration and an update on the Foothills Food Hub from Ms. Heather Edwards, who is the project developer of the Foothills Food Hub. So, Mr. Chair.
Thanks for that introduction. She's hit who Foothills Community School is, and we are project-based learning. Our projects are used in our individual academic disciplines. I'm a science teacher, and they're also used interdisciplinary with each discipline coming together to make a large 9 weeks project. And as she said, the first 9 weeks project, which recently ended, was called Seed to Need, and Need to Seed. And we began that project by going and visiting local farmers. As you can see, our class is here, which was an eye-opening experience for our students. And I've very much enjoyed hearing our farmers talk about who they are and what they're getting done. And then our students are also working together to develop their skills to work in teams, to complete projects. And we are trying to empower our students to be active in the community, to identify problems and possible solutions. Our first project this year, as I said, was Seed to Need. After they visited the farms, the students have volunteered at the Food Hub. They have volunteered at Meals at Heal. They have gleaned some farmers' fields, and they have worked in community gardens. As they were looking up issues of food insecurity in the community and possible solutions, my family, which is my homeroom, have become engaged in many diversified ways, including working with the Food Hub, and we now have 4 students. I'll be the 4th one because he's not here. We'll hear from them about how they were engaged and enthused about what they were doing.
Hi, I'm Hanna Roberts. I'm an 8th grader at Foothills Community School. And let's start off with why we want to do the survey. When we started this project, we saw some shocking results from our region. Was it true? Were there people right next to us suffering from food insecurity? What can we do about it? We started a survey with 3 middle schools, Foothills with 125 results from the school, 79 from West Middle School, and 252 from West Middle School. Altogether, we had 459 responses. The neighborhoods with the most people were Marion with 28.3%, Nebo with 23.1%, and East Marion with 12.2%.
Hi, I'm Emma Owensby, and I am a 6th grader from Foothills Community School. I'm talking about the most important information that stood out to us on the survey. One of the questions that we asked were, how many times have you went home without food? 24 people, or 5.2%, never got food when they went home from school. And 11 people, or 2.4, often did not get food when they went home. 20% of people surveyed did not know if they would have enough food. So, how did they get the money for food or availability? 8% ate less or skipped a meal. 20% sold personal possessions for food. 27% went to a function where there was free food. 11% received food from a pantry. One of the questions that we asked were, have you ever obtained food from a dumpster or trash? We looked at the question, and when we saw the results, that was very shocking to us. And the results were 11 individuals have ate out of a trash can or dumpster because they have not had food. And that was very shocking because it's very disgusting to eat out of a garbage can. And the 5 most student concerns were homelessness, population, racism and violent crime, healthy places to live, and food availability.
Hi, I'm Zoe Revis, and I'm a 6th grader from Foothills Community School. To me, it's not that surprising that 11 kids out of the 459 total responses that we got eat out of dumpsters, because if you are hungry, you will literally do anything to get food. My group and I did a podcast on food insecurity, and in that podcast, we interviewed an adult who was food insecure as a child. And there were 2 questions that stood out to us the most. The first question is that they said that their parents were too prideful to get any help from charities, food pantries, or any other thing like that. This situation could be in place for many other kids right now, prideful parents that stop their kids from eating every night. The other situation that we thought was that she said that her parents were alcoholics. Ms. Childers will explain why I pointed this out. And if you want to, that is a QR code to the entire podcast if you would listen to it later.
I'm not Kaysen Beers, but Kaysen's not here. I'm sure he's at home doing homework. But Kaysen was going to talk about the 2 problems that his group felt as issues of insecurity in McDowell County. The first problem he was going to talk about was substance abuse, something Kaysen was very passionate about, and you could tell that in his involvement and how he was pushing forward with the next survey I'm about to tell you about. And the next problem is also transportation, and he said he knows people are trying to do something about this, but there are oftentimes people without phones or way to communicate to hook up with any public transportation. His team also has created an adult survey that Food Hub is helping us get out to get an understanding on the adult hunger and if there's any connection between substance abuse and food insecurity. That was the end. I just wanted to emphasize that the students, 5 students did this whole podcast, and it's pretty amazing. If you get a chance to listen to it. Plus, the adult survey is available if anyone wants to take it. And I think y'all have in your packets the student survey. Then, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And Hanna and Emma and Zoe, did I say that right? Y'all did an excellent job. And you presented great. You walked right up there, stated your name, and you told the results of your study, and that was very good. We are so proud of y'all.
Let's give them a hand.
Give them a hand, everybody. Thanks so much. Okay, this time Heather's coming forward, right? All right.
So I want to just echo what you said. They did a great job, and I've had the pleasure of being able to work with these young ladies and gentlemen for a couple of months now, And I want to give a shout out to Ms. Shaver, their principal, who is a rock star, if you aren't already aware. But being able to implement this program and just all of the things that they got to see and be involved with and truly get grounded in the work that's happening in the county, whether it's farmers, whether it's pantries. They went up to Manna and Asheville and saw kind of the source of where this food's coming from that we're distributing. These folks came and filled up boxes and toted them, and I mean, they were just amazing and really invested and wanted to know what was going on and didn't just see it as a project they had to do, you know, but really wanted to understand the source and wanted to understand the implications. And I'm so excited about the fact, too, that they're taking it to the next step to understand the correlation between substance abuse and food insecurity. We're actually going to be sharing that survey on Thursday at DSS, Department of Social Services on Court Street. We're doing a food distribution there, so folks can come in and actually go shopping and get food. We're going to be sharing that survey with folks then, so we can get some more information and hopefully engage folks that are experiencing food insecurity and have them be more part of our process. So trying to encourage them to join the Food Council, to be part of the discussion about how we make it better. So let me jump into mine now, but I'm not going to talk too much. I know we've used most of our time already, and I certainly appreciate that. But see if I can understand how to work the buttons here without my glasses. But I'm Heather Edwards. I'm the project developer. This is our third round together, I think, talking about the Food Hub in the last 18 months. So good to see everybody again. Thank you so much for having us here today and giving us a chance to talk to you about the Food Hub once again. I appreciate you, Ashley, putting us on the agenda so that we could share some information with you. So I am going to just punch all the buttons until something moves. There we go. So here's some pictures. Tonight I always hit you hard. I know it when I come in here and talk about the numbers and food insecurity and what we can do and what we're not doing. So today I'm going to try to keep it light. I'm going to share with you some pictures of what's happened and just give you a shout out to a lot of our partners and agencies that have been part of this work. I think that folks don't know, if you don't have a chance to go outside of our county and talk about food and see what's happening in the rest of the state, you don't realize what an amazing group of humans we have in this community. The collaboration we have across partners is not seen in other counties, and it's certainly not seen in other rural counties in the same way that we're doing it. So I just want to, we'll see the list of them there, but I wanted to just highlight it all by saying we've got some amazing people in this county. So here's a few examples. We have Kim Freeman and from Mission Health and Emily Roberts from the Food Council that came in and gathered all the food, transported it to the Food Hub, and that got distributed later that week. So they collected it on Monday and it got distributed on Wednesday to all kinds of places across the county. Oops, wrong way. Told y'all I'm new. This is pictures of the Food Hub itself. So you see some ladies from ERA, if you recognize some of those faces. We've got Kim again, another volunteer over here, packing boxes, unloading and reloading that go out to Manna. We do this distribution every other Thursday, so this Thursday will be the next one. We're moving about between 7,000 and 9,000 pounds of food every delivery. So every other week we're sending food out to, and here's the list. This is a small group of them, but folks out at New Hope Domestic Violence Center, Blue Ridge Terrace, some of our seniors that have a kind of a fixed income and so live in Blue Ridge Terrace over there by Westcourt. Centro Unido Latino Americano, they have their own pantry. They're doing their own thing, but we supplement their produce so that they have enough to hand out to community for their distribution every Thursday as well. CareNet, we do boxes for folks that have had issues that allow them, or keep them rather, from going into pantries, so whether it's PTSD or other issues that they can't be in those enclosed spaces or around people or just simply can't get to pantries, they can pick that up at their mental health appointment. St. John's Episcopalian Church Pantry, we help those folks out as well. All kinds of organizations. We're hopefully going to be reaching out and helping Head Start as well. They have reached out and said that they need food boxes for families right now because they're struggling. So we're going to be working on that. I want to give a shout out too to, again, just one more group that's awesome, but Caleb over at Fat Boys Burritos that also owns Smoky Q's, he comes with his truck. We don't pay him, but he volunteers his time and his gas and his truck and actually does these deliveries every other Thursday. So he is followed by several folks that help pack up the boxes. They go to each one of these locations and drop it off without any kind of financial help. And then here's some of the businesses that have just been amazing for us. Spillway, some of the local restaurants, of course, McDowell Local, Refinery 13, the list goes on. Keeper's Cut just recently and some of the work that they did. The food drive with the Foothills Community Schools. We had a ton of food and served so many people that way. We have an upcoming thing with the Young Professional Network, the Chili Cook-Off that's coming in December. The community engagement folks, oh my goodness, the people that are in the room tonight, Ginger, I don't see Paula, but Donna is here from West Marion Community Forum, Old Fort Community Forum, have just been amazing in helping spread the word and get their folks to show up and help volunteer and get the work done. We also had Sue Glovier Teaching Kitchen. The Teaching Kitchen will be named for Sue Glovier. She's been an amazing educator and just all around amazing volunteer for the community. Molly and her team hosted a really nice event several weeks ago. That's a picture, I just love that, of her, where several $100s were raised, $1,000 from another group in Old Fort. So everyone's pitching in to try to make this happen. I also wanted to mention, too, that we just recently had a farmers co-op sort of introduction meeting where we had about 15 folks, well, about 15 farmers, certainly more people in the room, come and start to talk about what it would look like to form a farmer co-op in the county and then potentially the region. Rutherford County is looking to us right now, and I just spoke with their extension, some of their extension reps last week, for this commercial kitchen to be built. They have people waiting to use it. So I have to keep pushing them back to say I'm not sure when it's going to be ready, but it will be soon, hopefully. But we have folks from all over the region that are looking to us as a way to organize farmers, organize some of the food distribution that's happening, kind of looking to us to model how that's going to work as well. And certainly the commercial kitchen. We have folks all over the region that are looking for a kitchen that they can use and expand their business, be able to kind of take everything to the next level, or even be able to make meals for institutions, all kinds of places that obviously need an approved kitchen. So I know that we talk a lot about food insecurity, and that's important. And obviously these young men and women just showed you why. In terms of these are middle school kids that are going through this kind of a life right now in terms of not knowing where a meal is coming from, and that's unacceptable. The other piece of it is that I know we want to support other things in the county too. We want to make sure that county employees have a great salary, and we want to make sure that our roads are safe and our pipes are safe and all of the infrastructure that's important. So I realize we want to think about economic development as we put this hub together too. And so I feel like in the past maybe we've missed that point, that our farmers are part of our economy. And if we can support our farmers and support the larger food system, and you have a business plan in your folder, or should, that got sent out last week, that you can see the opportunities that we can build for our farmers, that we can build for our entrepreneurs, that we can completely rethink the way we use our food system and engage in our food system, not just in McDowell County, but the region as well. So I hope that we can recognize that food insecurity, yes, is important and is immediate and it has to be addressed, and that's why we're doing it, because Nebo Crossing has been kind enough to let us use a space so that if I can do it, we'll do it. But what we need right now is a little bit of money to be able to get our pipes and drainage in place so that we can start supporting farmers. I've been on the phone with farmers just in the last week that say, this is great, this is a great idea in theory, but are you going to have a cooler ready for me when blueberry season kicks in so that I can get this to market? I'm trying to say yes as we wait for the word from these different larger grants, but we have the money in place right now for the coolers. We have the money in place from Community Foundations of Western North Carolina to buy the cooler. We have a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer sitting in the hub right now. I just need the drains and pipes to make it work, to get us started. So that's why, our next slide here as we kick through, I'm asking for $25,000 to allow for immediate groundbreaking. If we can't do it all right now, I understand that, but if we can start to think about putting that in the budget and at least spreading it across some time, I can get an architect in here who we're already in discussion with, trying to get as low a cost as we can from them. But if I can get the permits done and the architects in there and engaged, because I had some money in our pockets, we've already got the money to put the coolers in. I just need the space to get me there, right? I just need the infrastructure ready to set it up. So I understand that there's a lot of discussion about what's good to be funded by our tax dollars and what's not. So I am hopeful that we can start this as a further discussion, not just in this room, but throughout community. about how we can support each other as citizens to have our best life, how we can help our farmers grow because they are the core and the backbone, and without them, this does not happen. And that we can also start an even bigger discussion about stigma. This young lady mentioned with her podcast that some of the parents were saying, we didn't want to go out and ask for food, even though it meant we were hungry, because we were too prideful. And that makes me really sad, to think that we are shaming each other to such a degree that we would rather have a child go hungry than to be able to stand up in front of our peers and say, I need help to feed my family. Can you help me do that? So I hope tonight, and because of so many of these awesome partners and the great people in this room and that have been supporting the Foothills Food Hub and the forums and everything else, that we can start tonight in saying we're going to stop using shaming words and negative connotations about people that are at least brave enough to raise their hand and say, I need help to feed my family tonight. So if we can start to reduce the stigma around poverty and around hunger, I think these agencies we can use food as a way to open the door to start these discussions. If I can get you to come to the table and share a meal with me, then we can talk about why you're not working. Then we can talk about what's going on, that your house has got holes in it, and we know that's not safe for your kids, but what's keeping you from moving forward? Food is a good way to make that happen. We've seen that when working with EMS and peer support and Match and all kinds of folks going into communities that would not open the door for the fire marshal, but when you send them up with, my daughter was there, when you send them up with a 10-year-old and a box of food, then we got discussions about putting in a smoke alarm. Then we got discussions about what they needed to actually be healthy, insurance, why they weren't moving forward, why they were struggling. So I realize food insecurity sometimes doesn't seem like something we can deal with, or we want to push off to the churches to say that's not our problem. But I think food is something that is everyone's issue. We all need food to survive. And it's a great gateway. It's a great way to start to have that conversation, so we can start to say, why are you using substance? Why are you using drugs? Why do you have a substance use disorder? Can we have that conversation over a meal a whole lot better than we can have in a courtroom?
Heather, have y'all, not to interrupt you, but
Please
have
do.
have you priced the necessary drain pipes?
The pipe.
Yes, all of those, you have a summary of price there because I didn't want to give you a 15-page thing, but I have the price of every single, by square footage, the drainage and pipes needed for all 4 components of the hub, as well as subfloors and everything else we need. So I have a full 20-page budget of every piece of equipment we need, every piece of capital construction as well.
Okay.
I would love to share that with you if you feel that would be helpful.
All right, well, listen, nobody in this room could dare say that the information that we received tonight is not something that needs to be talked about and moving forward. So we'll look at the estimates. We don't have them. We get our agenda packet, so they're not in there right now.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and look at that. And as we move forward, we typically start our budget process January. Ashley, is that when we start? But with the item though that you mentioned, that's something that might take a look prior to the budget process, because if we can look, we have a lot, you said it, and you're on spot, all the different things that we are tasked to fund, and then we have external groups that come to us, and so we try to prioritize and just determine as a group with staff, of course, in their input, what can we do to try to get the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak. Sure. And so this board is very sensitive. I know Brenda serves on the committee with you guys. And she speaks highly of what you're doing. And, Commissioner Green has some conversations with me prior to today. And so I think the board is definitely in tune to what's going on here. And we're going to have more conversations moving forward. And so we'll be in touch with you, with Ashley, communicating on as a conduit, so to speak, between us and you guys. And we'll talk first about the pipes.
Okay.
How's that?
Thank you. Thank you for listening, and I want to say a special thank you to Ms. Brenda Vaughn. One, because adore you, but also because you serve on our board, and we so value your opinion and so value you being part of that. So thank you for always showing up. Yeah.
Okay, and thanks again to the students, man. Y'all hit a home run. Y'all were great. Okay, at this time, let's move to our next item, and on the agenda, and this will be item C. This will be a policy. Actually, back up. Let's go to isothermal. We'll do our 5:30 appointment. I was trying to get some other business in there right quick, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay, let's go to our next appointment on the appointment schedule, and we have the isothermal regional transit plan and staff here tonight. So welcome to the boardroom, and we hear you gladly.
Okay.
And I'm sure you got a presentation for us, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I'm Carol Fuller. I'm the Director of Isothermal RPO, which represents McDowell County as well as Rutherford and Polk County. And what we're doing right now is a region-wide comprehensive transportation plan, which I'm now going to turn it over to my DOT folks. And that plan is a cooperative plan between the RPO, the 3 counties, and NCDOT. You actually have your own county plan, the McDowell County plan, but we're trying to update that and bring the 3 counties together so that we have one region-wide plan. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dominic Boyd. He's our lead of the CTP engineers that we're working with, and Richard Virgo, who's also working with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pull it up a little bit. Good evening. As Carol mentioned, my name is Dominic Boyd from NCDOT Transportation Planning. And we've been working on the isothermal regional CTP again back, I want to say this summer. So what we're doing now is kind of going around just giving our spiel about what a comprehensive transportation plan is. Also tonight, of course, we are seeking adoption of the socioeconomic data that we have. So try not to be in front of you guys too long because you guys got enough to do. So just a brief overview of what a comprehensive transportation plan is, the why behind it and the benefits of it. Also socioeconomic data, we'll talk a little bit about that, and then finish off with the isothermal regional CTP survey that will be going out in January. So comprehensive transportation plan overview. What is a CTP? It's that. It's a long-range multimodal transportation plan. Typically, we have a planning period, so starting from a base year, projecting out 25 to 30 years in terms of our future year. And it's also a vision plan. It's developed cooperatively among local stakeholders, rural planning organizations, and NCDOT. And it incorporates any land use plan within that area, community and statewide goals, and also previous CTPs that we have within the region or within the area. So where does CTP fit into the big picture? So typically, CTP is a part of the long-range planning part. It's determining the need within the area. I usually talk about it in terms of bike spoke. That's how I was taught towards the beginning of my career. So typically we're at the beginning. We're like the first spoke in a bike spoke. As you can see, as you go down from the planning part all the way down to construction, like I said, again, we're at the beginning. They're trying a lot of graphics. Why is the CTP needed? As you can see in General Statute 136-66.2, I'll let you guys read a little bit on that. But just kind of emphasizing the first part of it, each municipality not located within a metropolitan planning organization, MPO, as recognized in General Statute 136-200.1, with the cooperation of the Department of Transportation, shall develop a comprehensive transportation plan that will serve present and anticipated travel demand in and around the municipality. As you can see, the link below, if you want to read probably a lot more in terms of the statute. But the general need of just trying to house the different deficiency and needs within the area in terms of transportation in a multimodal type of facet. So what's in the CTP? Within the CTP is housed the multimodal maps Those multimodal maps, we'll talk about the 5 different modes that we typically look at. You do have a couple other modes that we will talk about, but mainly these are the 5 that are within CTP. So you have highway facility type and recommendation maps, the public transportation and rail maps, also the bicycle and pedestrian maps. Emphasize within that map or those maps the current and future conditions in terms of your lanes, your right-of-way, and volume of capacity or volume and capacity. And the recommendations typically out of that, you'll see the existing facilities or you'll see proposed facilities. So what are the benefits of the CTP? Some of the benefits of the CTP is a transportation plan that is coordinated with the local growth plan. Results feed into the NCDOT prioritization process and help guide the RPO in developing project prioritization. So you guys know that spot. Also, common long-range vision for facilities among local government, RPO, and NCDOT. So a collaborative vision overall. Some of the other benefits is a mutually adopted plan by NCDOT, the county, and the municipal governments. And it also gives due consideration to human and natural environments. And finally, with this, the accountability to the public through a formal public involvement process, hence the reason why you'll see us a lot at times. So a big part of our comprehensive transportation plan is our steering committee. The role of our steering committee represents stakeholders within the county, also coordinates with the local councils and planning boards, assists with public involvement, review plans as it's developed, and also assists with the adoption and endorsement. So, of course, with this CTP that we're doing, since it's a regional one, you're going to have people that are involved with all 3 counties, and I didn't start off with that, so I apologize. The 3 counties are McDowell, Rutherford, and Polk County. So you have representatives from all 3 counties that are part of the steering committee involved in building this. So it's not solely just us 3. We got a big team of people that are very involved, and I definitely appreciate them. Let's talk about the members. NCDOT, of course, Transportation Planning Division, also Division 13 and 14 is represented. Also represents isothermal RPO. And also local stakeholders from the county, towns, business interests, multimodal reps, environmental interests, Title VI, schools, elderly, and etc. And then also the public to finish off with it. So as you can see, it's pretty robust in terms of our steering committee. So within the process of developing the CTP, as you can see, we have our developed vision. So we've already kind of went through the holding initial meetings and within the steering committee developing our community vision, our goals and objectives. We are now in a part of the system assessment where we're performing our base year analysis. Currently, we're at the point where we're seeking out endorsement in terms of socioeconomic data, which we're here for today. After that, we'll be doing our future year assessment. So next step, of course, as we have in front of you, I'll talk a little bit about the data. My phone did timeout, which I did. But we'll talk about socioeconomic data, and then also we'll talk about the isothermal regional CTP going live January 1st, 2020. So talk a little bit about socioeconomic data. If you guys have it in front of you, pull up in front of my phone. Sorry for 1 quick second. I'll unlock my phone. So just talk a little bit about this. So previously, we had a CTP that was completed in terms of McDowell County back in 2013. So what you have here in front of you is the actual population data that is based on the 2013 CTP, and also with committee recommendation. We all sat down in terms of that and was able to take a look at the information sources that we used before to do population and socioeconomic, population and employment data, and so using that from the state demographer, we was able to get the up-to-date base year data that we're going to use in terms of CTP for 2017. As you can see, for our population, it's 46,200. and we projected it forward. The growth that was used back in the 2013 CTP was 0.7. So with the help of the steering committee, we estimated that the growth would be for this CTP 0.8% growth per year. So projecting that forward from the 46,200 into the year 2045, as you can see, it will be 57,700 in terms of the population. And like I said again, the source of this data is state demographer, so we try to make sure that we look at that and stay consistent based on the information that we have from previously also. Moving forward, in terms of employment data, using the same type of ideology, beforehand was 0.7% in the older CTP in 2013. With the group, we actually projected that to 1% growth. And so base year 2017, based on demographer information, it was 20,200. Projecting it forward in 2045 is 26,700. So the growth percentages are the key things that we looked at, and that we try to make sure that we held true to what was going on within the county as we see fit now. And like I said, it's a pretty big committee, and so we made sure we went through it pretty thoroughly. So from that, moving forward, as you can see, January 1st will be the beginning or the launch of our isothermal regional CTP that Mr. Richard Virgo actually worked really hard on. It'll be live, as you can see on the web link that we have up here. If paper copies are needed, they can be requested, and we'll be able to give that to anybody that needs them. The period for the survey is January 1st to February 29th, 2020. So here's the team that we have in front of you. Oh, I'm sorry, my supervisor actually is not here tonight. So that's the bottom person, Mr. Andy Bailey. But this is our information. If you need anything, definitely give us a call. We'll be able to try to answer any question that we can. If I don't have an answer, if he doesn't have the answer, I'm sorry. If our supervisor doesn't have an answer, if Carol doesn't have the answer,
we're in trouble, right?
No, we're trying to find an answer and do whatever we can. I mean, that's the type of people that we are. So, any questions?
Okay, tonight, Mr. Wooten, the request is to go ahead and adopt the information.
That's right.
Okay.
Approve a resolution.
We didn't feel like as staff that there would be, if there was different data or theory to change what was recommended, we would have it, but we don't. That they know a lot more about that than we'll ever know as far as state demographer and access in city commerce. So we'll go with what the experts say and recommend that the resolution be approved.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move we approve the resolution. Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay? All right, thank you, Dominique and Richard and Carol. Look forward to talking to you in days to come. All right, let's go ahead and move to courthouse update. This will be item F under old business. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Right, this is a fairly brief item. I just wanted to always touch base on this courthouse project as when necessary. I've spoken to several of you about a need for one of our vacated areas. What was the district attorney's office on the third floor. The contractor's been up there for several weeks, and several of you have seen that area. We had the thought perhaps of saving a little bit of money by not doing some renovation there, just for the time being, but it doesn't really make sense to do that and really getting into it. So talked to Terry. Terry talked to architect and the contractor. So right now you've got paneling that was put on the 70s. It's in really bad condition. The wiring needs addressing. So we had pricing done for modern wiring, updated wiring, as well as drywall to replace the paneling. And that estimate was approximately $41,000, which was quite a bit lower than the original estimate. And so staff would recommend that we proceed with that. We don't have someone ready to move in that space, but it's the way the space demands are, we'll likely be using that for some sort of function, so it makes sense to do that now while the contractor.
And that would be the only section of the courthouse that's not been remodeled, redone to date, right?
That's right.
Okay.
I took a look at it, Mr. Chairman, and, you know, if my thoughts count as a ex-builder, I think it would be a good move, to repair what's damaged there. Essentially, you'd be going in there and try to repair all that plaster that's fallen down, and I think what they're looking at it, stripping it off, putting new sheetrock up, and that gives you room to run the new wiring in. It's just a cost-efficient way to fix it.
Mr. DePoyster is here somewhere. If you
I went up today and looked at it also. I just want to make sure that this 41,000, because it's not mentioned in the memo, but that does include the wiring.
Yes, sir. That's electrical and drywall.
Okay.
He's right there. He's
Okay.
somewhere in the room.
Complete job.
I'd move we approve the change order.
Okay, have a motion, second, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, let's go to our next appointment item. This will be the Black Bear Access Area Lease, and Christy Churchill. Well, come on up, y'all.
Company.
Good to have you in the boardroom tonight.
Good evening, Commissioners.
And we look
Full
forward to.
disclosure, I'm not Christie.
We figured that out.
He's here.
Okay, good.
But I would like to introduce myself. I am John Crutchfield. I am Director of Public Safety and Recreation Planning with Duke Energy. So my team is charged with carrying out all the recreation improvements in the new federal operating license issued for the Catawba Hydro Project, which spans from the 11 reservoirs from Lake James down to Lake Wateree in South Carolina. We would like to talk to you tonight, give you a status update on what our plans and schedule are for the upgrades to the Black Bear access area on Lake James, and then offer the new license term to lease the access area to the county, and with the county have an option to build additional recreation facilities. And Christy will speak to that. But before I get started, I would like to introduce our team members. And first of all, Jennifer Bennett coordinates our leasing program. We have access area leases. We have a fairly extensive leasing program that we lease to local governments and other entities. Ashley Hood and Christy Churchill are project managers. They will be tasked with carrying out the construction of the planned enhancements at Black Bear Access. And I'd also like to recognize Robin Nicholson, who's our area community relations manager. What I'd like to do is briefly give a very brief overview of the relicensing process to make sure everybody's on the same playing field, how we got to where we are today, and then I'm going to turn it over to Christy to talk about the leasing and the planned improvements. So make sure I do this right. Downward, okay, that's why I didn't change. As far as the relicensing process, way back in 2006, we submitted a license application to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, which included a stakeholder comprehensive relicensing agreement conditions. And that agreement was signed by 69 signatories, including Duke Energy and the county, and included like local governments, state and federal resource agencies, Native American tribes, and then non-governmental organizations like American Whitewater and American Rivers. That was a pretty lengthy process that we went through to get that agreement, and include not only recreation but environmental issues like dissolved oxygen, lake levels, water flows, cultural resources, migratory fish, a whole range of issues. So those were in the licensing agreement, which was signed, and that's a legally binding document, as well as the federal license issued by FERC. To get the recreation improvements, we did a detailed recreation, what's called a recreation use and needs study during that relicensing period. And that looked at the existing recreation uses in the whole basin and then what was needed. It was an analytical study. We took that data, discussed it with the stakeholders, and that's how we came out with the recreation improvements that were included in the license application, ultimately got into the federal license. In November 2015, FERC issued a 40-year license, and that's a pretty good gap from 2006 to 15, and the delay there was related to administrative law hearing related to water releases from North Carolina reservoirs into South Carolina, as well as endangered species, sturgeon, that had to be resolved with federal agencies. So that took some time to resolve before FERC issued that license. In the license, they had what we needed for the recreation improvements, but they required us to file what's called a recreation management plan, which we did within a year. FERC looked at that, and we submitted in November 2016, and FERC got around approving that in December 2017. So that gave us the green light to get out the shovels and start digging and start making improvements. The recreation management plan not only details what we're going to do, the schedule we're going to do it, how we're going to operate and maintain them, if we're going to lease access areas, as well as periodic reviews of the recreation needs throughout that 40-year license. It's a very detailed plan, about 100 pages. That plan detailed 89 recreation enhancements done in a 20-year period, and those were parsed out in 5-year increments starting in 2018 to 22, 23 to 27, so forth and so on. And most of those, about 80% of those commitments were in the first 10 years, so heavily loaded towards the first 10 years. Of access areas, we're going to improve, make enhancements to 32 access areas, and that includes Black Bear, as well as adding 26 new recreation sites throughout the river basin. And we're investing a pretty good amount of capital, about $45 million in the first 10 years. And then we're dispersing more than $4 million to some of our funding partners on other recreation projects that were outlined in the relicensing settlement. So that's how we got today. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to Christy to talk about the lease offer and then what's our plans for Black Bear.
Good evening. I'm Christy Churchill. I work with Duke Energy with the team that my manager introduced to you guys earlier. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the lease and the comprehensive relicensing agreement, which McDowell County was a signatory to, included the potential for the county to lease the Black Bear access area. And within that agreement includes a number of upgrades to the site. So you have the option to lease it and add additional amenities or not. So the access improvement initiative leases work in a certain way where the stakeholders partner with us and manage the access areas over the term of the FERC license, so the remaining of the 40-year license that we have. What we do is we provide a no-cost lease to the counties to manage the park facilities, giving you also the option to invest additional capital dollars to build additional recreation amenities for your use, whatever your community might need. The Black Bear boating access area is currently maintained by the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission through a maintenance agreement with us. They will continue to maintain the boat ramp area and a fishing pier that they will also be building. The offer that we have to McDowell County for the term of the rest of the license, which goes through 2055, it has annual renewals. If the license doesn't actually renew in 2055, there will be annual renewals until it renews. The McDowell County can build several recreation enhancements as identified in the Recreation Management Plan, which was approved by the FERC, as mentioned by John. Those enhancements were also included in the comprehensive relicensing agreement. So whatever was agreed to in that relicensing agreement basically transferred over to the Recreation Management Plan, and that's what we are now working with and building. So some of the things that were included in there and approved for McDowell County to build, and they were things that McDowell County had said they wanted, were some additional trails and cabins, like camping cabins.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little hard to see this, but this isn't the entire property, but this is a good portion of it. And you can see in the top part of it is the existing boat launch area. There's about 167 boat trailer parking spaces there. It's a very heavily used boating access area. You guys are all, I'm sure, familiar with it. Below that is the day use area, which will be picnicking facilities, and then behind that is the campground area. So we've tried to kind of, make separate spaces within the property to keep the uses organized and not have a lot of user conflicts. So you've got your day use folks, you've got your overnight campers, and then you have your boaters. This is, again, hard to read, but this is the closer up view of the boating access area that's currently there being used. There is a porta-john there right now. We will be adding a more permanent restroom facility there, and then we'll be looking at some minor changes to the parking lot to make it function better. But for the most part, the boating access will stay the same. We will have a separate entrance, though, coming off the highway for the camping and the day use sites, so that we won't have all the traffic coming in one location. This is the day use area, and what we have up there is we have a number of picnic pads and trails and a picnic shelter, a large picnic shelter, as well as restrooms. There's also an ADA accessible trail leading down to the fishing pier that North Carolina Wildlife will be building and maintaining. So in this area, we've got, we have about 24 picnic tables, and they're kind of dispersed throughout. We tried to design this so that we are not tearing a lot of trees down. We try to make it feel very natural, so it's retaining a lot of trees and pretty much sticking with the existing topo as much as possible. I wish you could see this better, but this is the camping area. So the way that it's currently designed, which is something that could be converted if you guys chose to build cabins, is we have designed in here 36 camping sites, and so there's a mixture of ADA accessible sites as well as standard sites. Each of these campsites has a fire ring, a tent pad, and a picnic table, and a parking area, and we've tried to make the parking areas big enough for whatever folks may be bringing in. This is not RV camping. This is intended to be tent camping right now, but again, the sites are large and they're worked in with the trees. We actually went out there and hand-selected each site for these campsites to make it, to make you feel like you're out in nature and not in a big cleared dirt area. So it should be a really nice campground. It's set up also to where we've got some group camping sites in one section there, and we have a restroom facilities, and we have additional picnic shelters. And also quite a few trails. We have trails going all through the property, and eventually the trails should be linking you back up to the Fauna Flora Trail, which would take you, all the way to Burke County and then maybe on to Asheville. So there's a lot of connectivity that we're working on through this property to make it a really big asset for the whole area. Let's see here. So just as an update for what we've been doing and what our schedule is, in October, my team and we came and met with county staff and talked about the detailed engineering plans, and we talked about our schedule and talked about various aspects of the overall design, just to try to reestablish the conversation so we can get going now, because we're starting to get within a couple years of when this project will be finished and ready to turn over to you guys. So we really want to know, what are we building so that you can put it in your budget if you're going to lease the property, so you have enough funds to maintain whatever facilities you want to have there. We are currently working through the engineering, design, and permitting phase with our engineers. We think that we will be starting the full-blown permitting process towards the latter part of next year, 2020. We expect to start construction in 2021, and our plan is to be complete by the end of 2022, if not sooner. So it's a large property, it's a large project. We've tried to schedule this out so that we meet those deadlines. Duke Energy and McDowell County need to consider coordinating the construction activities and realize synergies and cost savings in contractor mobilization and closure downtime of the access area. If by chance you guys do want to move forward with camping cabins and other additions you might want to make, then it might make sense to build everything at one time. So that's really the gist of our presentation. There's more information on the Duke Energy website. It's on the dukeenergy.com Community Lakes Recreation Information, and then under Catawba Watery Recreation Enhancements, there's a whole facts and questions page that we developed to try to help answer questions about the relicensing process and what it is and why we're doing it, if anybody wants more information. We're also happy to provide any information you might need or want. We did bring a set of plans with us in case anybody wanted to see them, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Commissioners.
You've heard the... Where do we sign?
Did you bring the lease?
You've heard the saying, if you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
I currently am a camp host at Patty's Creek,
Oh, yes.
Lake James State Park.
Absolutely.
I am amazed at the people that come into McDowell County and Burke County from Maine and all up in the Northeast. I had a family there last week from Tallahassee, Florida. They say they come and spend a week here every year, this time of year. Of course, you know, they're open year-round. But they come for the trails. They come for the bike trails, for the scenery, and the hiking trails. So I'm excited to death about it.
Well, Lake James is beautiful, and this property is beautiful, and I'm not saying that because I work for Duke Energy and we own the property. I'm just saying we love going out there and visiting this site. It's a great place to be, and it's a great site for camping.
Since this first come up and the conversations started happening about it, you know, I've been excited about it, and, you know, it's certainly one of my intentions is to see cabins down there. I think that would help make the thing more self-sustaining.
Absolutely. It definitely will be a game changer. Yeah. I think that's pointed out, it really will.
That's the best way to.
You answered my
make it
question on the
self-sustaining.
trails, how it's all going to tie in, but the last few words in that last statement, that last slide, talked about the closure downtime of the access area. That was going to be one of my questions. What kind of time frame? Because that is a heavily used area for boaters, for fishing, for tournaments, for everything that we have on this side of the lake.
It could be about 18 months.
So the access area would be closed for 18 months?
No. The total construction.
Okay.
We'll do the construction and try to plan it as best we can to minimize the downtime or closure time of the actual boat ramp access.
Since we've got a separate entrance for the campground and day use area, we can keep it.
We can do the construction over there.
I think they'll realize the return is worth the cost.
Yeah. So what we'll probably do is, if there are times when there's safety concerns during construction activities, we may have it closed. I don't anticipate having it closed too much because we're not doing a whole lot of work at the boating site.
Could you estimate a time frame? Because I guarantee you there'll be as many people or more.
I think we would just say we'll try to minimize it. We'll work with the Wildlife Resources Commission.
So you can't
minimize it of the actual closure of the access.
So you wouldn't take a swag at anything at all? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Not right now.
I guarantee you.
I can answer your question.
I will say, we try to do, when we do closures at all, we try to do it during the off season, like January.
Oh, yeah.
We do have, the reason why this would be closed for a little while is because we have to repave. There's a lot of paving issues there, so we want to repave. So asphalt plants do close in the wintertime, so have to be cognizant of that. But maybe 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, we just recently closed to do some parking lot repairs.
And the
We
boat
did
traffic
that.
didn't slow down at all.
No, but as Christie mentioned, that parking lot is going to need some major renovations. It's got some drainage issues that we are going to have to close there. But the new amenities, we can build a construction entrance and go on.
Because I guarantee you this room will pack out with fish.
Well, and it's partly, and North Carolina Wildlife would not like to see it closed down either. But it's, it will help, I believe, that we do have we've separated the uses so that they're not commingled, and that should help during construction as well, minimize conflicts.
Other comments, questions about
It's
board
just
members?
like when gas prices go up, people don't stop driving. You're not going to stop the boaters.
True.
Any closures, we will put communications out.
We do public notice.
Adequate lead time
Yes.
of what's happening.
Robin will help with that too, right?
And there's the concern about fire protection, with that being the only major point for some of the fire departments.
The boating access to the fires on the lake.
So we'll work with the county
Yeah.
to ensure that that's still accessible.
Tammy, so anything you need to add to this?
It's sort of like the item before, the shooting range. For really no investment, you could have a really nice site at the end of the day. But with some county investment, depending on how much you wanted to do, either as the county itself or through a third party, constructing cabins if that was the desire. I mean, you could really have a nice amenity, but at the bare minimum, you have an amenity that's not there now. That would be very, very popular with the enhancement. Boniflora State Trail was mentioned. That's a great tie-in as well. So it's a home run.
It's a home run.
It's a grand slam.
Out of the park.
Okay, now, are you looking for a motion tonight? It says you're requesting direction.
We
concerning
do
the lease.
need direction on, if you want, I don't want to say bare bones, that sounds negative, but the presented plan as is
I
without,
think what they were asking tonight was to sit down and get our ideas on what we wanted in order to put something together for this.
Do you want to lease it? If you definitely want to lease
Yes.
it, then what do you want to add?
I think if it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
First part is, do you want to do?
I move that we lease the property
I would
and
second
move
it.
forward later with the other, with
Okay.
our ideas on.
We have a motion second to that effect. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay.
All right, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for being here.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your investment.
Grand slam.
At this time, let's move to our 6 o'clock appointment with Morris Broadband. This is the expansion update, Tony Carter. There you go, Mr. Carter. You go right ahead, sir.
See?
While he's getting set up, Mr. Carter's been before you maybe about a year or so ago to talk about some of the plans.
See?
You can, it's okay. He talked about some of the plans for Morris, some of the upgrades they've been working on, and thought it would be a great opportunity to hear about recent news of a grant award. So that's what he will talk about tonight, and how it will affect the county.
All right, my name is Tony Carter, and I'm the general manager for Morris Broadband. I want to thank Ashley and the board to let me present on our expansion plans in McDowell County. We're really excited about it, and it's come to attrition because of the great grant program offered by the state. Just to give you a quick rundown, I know I've gone over this before about what we've been doing, but I just want to give you a basic understanding of the upgrades that we have been doing to get to this point. Morris Broadband took over about 2009, and we immediately started a large fiber build-out. When we took over, all of our counties were kind of by themselves, McDowell County, Jackson, all them. So we built a large fiber count. This one comes up through Lake Lure, through Rufferton, and connects into Nebo, where our office is. And we connected that all to a main core in Henderson County. So that way, whenever we made changes, whether it be a channel or a speed increase, everybody got it at the same time. So just because McDowell County was out here, no longer you guys are connected in, and we can make all those changes at the same time. We worked diligently to put in some standby power, and we knew that we had a lot of coax that needed to be replaced. It was an older system, so we've been working on that since we took over in 2009. In order to make some of these improvements we're about to make, we had to start then on that. In 2015, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but we made a major move to an all-digital cable delivery. And what that does is it allows us to take the capacity that's in our plant and change it to be able to be used for broadband. So when analog cable was in existence and you have a pipe this big, it takes up almost 3/4 of it. So when you move your cable line up to digital, it's only about that much of it. It can use the rest of your capacity for broadband and broadband improvements and speed of that. So, we did that. We moved all digital throughout the last couple of years, McDowell County included. We launched a new platform, which is called DOCSIS 3.1. We continued to upgrade our core network, where everything come into. Back in May of 2009, we made a major improvement in our internet providers. It used to be that when internet came into the core, it'd go through Asheville and out to everywhere. We purchased 2 dedicated pipes to Charlotte and Atlanta for our customers, so you go directly to the internet. That's where the main routing is for internet traffic. So our customers have a dedicated pipe to those locations. course, that includes McDowell County. We also increased our transport, our core transport. That was about a $2.5 million upgrade. We just completed that in October of 2019, just a couple months ago. And that increased our backing capacity by 900%. So as we began to bring new customers in and we began to increase our internet speeds as the market demanded, we had plenty of capacity on the back end. We feel that this transport upgrade that we did recently will be good for about 10 years. So we made a big jump, a major jump in making sure the core was taken care of. Our long-term plans, just to give you an idea, is to continue to do our HFC improvements. And what that means is we're a hybrid fiber and coax plant. So we're a combination of both. And obviously, we're moving to make it more fiber than coax as we continue with our upgrades. Since we take over in 2009, we've done about a 30% increase in our fiber presentation in the market. We're going to continue with our speed increases. We want to bring our lower speed packages closer and closer to the 1 gig level, which is our goal for long term, and also keeping up with the upload speeds. Right now, upload speeds don't seem to be a major issue, but in the future, we feel it's going to be. So our whole focus is to make sure we can maintain the download, but also the upload for the future. We're also preparing for 10 gig services. Right now, you hear about 1 gig. The technology now is coming out with 10 gig, so we know we're going to have to be ready for that. So we're already got that in the back of mind as we continue our upgrades and the equipment that we use in our core network. We're also going to continue our footprint expansion. Sorry. Now that we've got our core and our coax plan in good shape, and that whole upgrade was about $45 million throughout Western North Carolina. Now we can start spending more and more money on expansion, expanding our footprint, now that we feel we've taken care of our current customer base. We just did a speed increase. We have not publicly announced it, so this is the first time it's ever been seen in the public. We haven't announced it to our customers or anything, but we took our 10 meg package to the 25 meg package. The 35 meg went to the 200 meg, and so forth on down. We're launching a gigabit product via the cable modem, which is up to 940 megs down. So that's way advanced in what in the offerings that are. If you read on Google and you see all these large cities, recently they talked about Philadelphia and New Jersey, and they all launched higher speed packages like this. Their highest one was 600 meg. Our highest one is gigabit, which is 1,000 meg. So we took that advantage of that new core network we put into place, and we're jumping ahead of hopefully what the people are seeing in the different areas as they move in. I know for economic development, having a strong broadband product is very important for economic development. So we take that very seriously. So we've made that jump, and soon we'll be making the actual official announcement to our customers. But that's a lot of those areas, that's over 200% increase in internet speed for no additional charge. There's no charges additional for those packages. Just to share a little bit of McDowell County statistics for you, and this will start to point out the challenge for McDowell County in expanding its broadband services. Right now, our miles of plan is 201 miles. That averages about 20 homes per coax mile. Our miles of fiber are 48, and that's about 93 homes per fiber mile. In some of our other markets, just to kind of give a comparison, in Henderson, Jackson, and Macon County, they all run around 40. So McDowell County is a lot less homes per mile, so it makes it a little bit harder, when you're trying to look at a business case and try to do your expansion on that. But I tell you, in McDowell County is our highest take rate by over 10% of any other area. So when we expand in McDowell County, it's not the 30, 40%, 50, 60% of the people take the product. So that's very positive what we do. In fact, as we go into our expansion plans, the highest build project I've ever dealt with in my 10 years there, the second highest one is McDowell County, the one we're getting ready to talk about. And most of our builds and all that are in Jackson, Macon, and McDowell County, not the larger Henderson County. So last year, the state came out with a great grant program. They used some of the tax dollars to come out with a great grant program. And that total amount was $10 million for the whole state. It was for Tier 1 counties, and luckily at the time when that was released, McDowell County was a Tier 1 county. I know now we're Tier 2. And next year, the great grant's going to be 15 million. It's only Tier 1 counties, but the year after that, it's 15 million, and it's going to be Tier 1 and Tier 2, which I know McDowell County is Tier 2, so we'll be able to step right back in and take advantage of that in the future. With the great grant, it said it had to be underserved locations only, and they consider underserved locations 10 meg or lower. That was in the grant fund. It was a matching fund grant, and it was dependent on the point system. So the higher the points, the more matching they did. We ended up with the state matching 65% in McDowell County, and Morris putting in 35% for the bill. Some of the things that are on the point system is the minimum speed. You noticed how we went from 10 meg to 25 meg just now? That is like a 10-point upgrade in the grant program. So if we stayed at 10 meg, we would have not had the points that we needed probably to get the grant. Because we were doing a minimum of 25 meg, we were able to classify for those additional points in the grant program. So that helped us get the grant. The cost per home was there, so we had to be real careful. It was generous, but we wanted to make sure we got as many houses in McDowell County without disqualifying us on the amount per customer per home. So we looked everywhere, and when I show you the map, we picked 8 different areas in McDowell County to go to so we could get as many as we could, fitting into that location. Business and agriculture locations also were points, so we had to at least have 5 businesses to get some extra points, so we made sure there was 5 businesses in somewhere where we did, so we could qualify for the grant. The total grant in McDowell County, the state is giving us $757,000. Morris is putting in $407,000. So the total investment in McDowell County is $1.1 million, $1.165 million for broadband expansion. That includes 381 passings, 5 of those businesses. It's actually my 390. When we were doing the mapping after we got approved, we found 9 more addresses we could veer off of a little bit right close by and pick them up. So it's actually going to be 390 passings. For us, that's a major investment in McDowell County because we have about 2,000 customers. So that's a major percentage increase for us in McDowell County. It required additional staffing, which we've already hired already to handle that. This is just a breakdown on kind of how it has to work. So we had to break it down in materials. We had to be very specific in the grant. So $407,000 of it is toward materials. The $757,000 is worth for construction and labor charges. And last but not least, what is our timeline? The grant says that we have to be done by June 2021. Our estimated timeline is we should be completion by November 2020. We are currently in the process of filing for pole attachments. So we have to go to the electric company and say, hey, we want to attach to your poles. Is there room? We're starting to get some of that information back. There's several poles we have to pay to replace because there's no room on them. So we're starting to get the system ready so we can begin our construction process. And we'll put in for underground locates as we get to an underground location as we need to because those are only good for a couple weeks, so we'll wait and do that part of it. But we're getting all the aerial stuff ready so we can make our go forward with our construction. The materials, we've ordered. When we did the mapping, and I've got maps to share, we had to do kind of like our engineering designs. We knew exactly how many materials, how much of this cable, and how much this equipment to order. So we've already started that process of ordering materials from McDowell County, and we're estimated we can start construction in February of 2020 on those locations. Now, that's my last slide. I had to go a little old school on the map because when I tried to print it or put it on a scale, it was hard to see. This right here is a map. Oops. Sorry. This map, I'll show 8 areas. This is what I sent you, Ashley, in electronic form, so you have it. But this is a list of each area, a map of each area, and a list of every address we're going to build to. In the Great Grant Program, we had to list every address and every GPS coordinate of every single address. So all that is here, so if anybody's wanted to know if we're going to be expanding to the area, I know you have an electronic form, but I have the map here, and overall, just general listing of the address. We don't have to look through the map to look for it. This map here, see if I can show it right. Actually, can you help me for a second? this is, just to kind of give you an idea of where we are, this is McDowell County, right? So, right here. Sorry. This is McDowell County. Of course, this is Marion right here. The green highlighted area is where we are currently. If you can see where we are. This is that fiber interconnect I talked about that we built back in 2009. It's the purple line right here. As you can see, a lot of the areas we're building off of, they're marked here in red, are right off of that major fiber interconnect. So we're now able to take advantage of that. And then also here, little extensions off of where we are here, 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 and here. So we're expanding out in each location we can, wherever our footprint is. And as you see, we had to really look hard and make sure we could get as many addresses as we could fitting into the profile of the grant program. So that's just kind of a general map of where we're going to be, and then each area, I've got a list of addresses in each area right there. That's what that is, so you can see what area it is.
I want one of those.
Yeah, can we have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Not this, but you can.
No, that
Right there in electronic form. That right there of each area in electronic form.
Okay.
This I just had printed out so I could give you an idea of where we were and kind of wherever the addresses are all over the place. Okay. So anyway, you're welcome to keep this too.
Okay.
I can always print another one if I need it. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's it for my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, hey, yeah, this is we've got the committee that's going to be on the agenda next, and this is a big deal. We have got, if we've got a school board member here and we partner with the school board to get the computers down there, I think the 5th grade now, 1-to-1, and I had a conversation just the other day with someone about, if we expect kids to do their homework now electronically, and then they've got to come into town or to some point where they can access the internet, we got to do all we can do to make sure we correct that and partner with whomever we need to, and that's the internet that goes out to the world in just one fingertip. So, Tony, thanks for being here tonight and
thank
your
you.
presentation.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
And your investment, what your company's doing. Thanks so much. And at this time, I'll go ahead and bring Chris up. Chris Revis with the Broadband Initiative Group. And Chris, thanks for all your group is doing. So we hear you gladly. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of County Commission, County Manager, and staff. Before we get started, I want to say kudos to Marsh Broadband, because what they're doing should set an example for other providers. We have multiple providers in our county. Marsh Broadband is one of the only providers that is actively seeking great grants to try to find out how they can better serve the community they're in. And so, good job. We appreciate you. It's really great to hear that they're raising their base levels up to meet federal guidelines of broadband connectivity, and we can get into some of that later. I'm not going to get very technical tonight. I want to talk about, because this is grassroots, and I really feel like this was great that they got us on the agenda at the same time. I've never used this remote, so I just arrow down. Thank you. So some of you may know that we started the McDowell Broadband Action Team in June of this year. And it came about as a new iteration of an existing group of folks we had for the last 12 or 13 years. Keith Buchanan and I, and I'm sure all of you know Keith very well. Keith and I have known each other our whole lives. We decided to try to put together an organization, and there's a reason the name Action Team is in it. We're not going to do a show on Saturday morning cartoons, but we want to get things done. We want to stop talking about getting things done and take ownership of our problem as a county and try to find solutions. A member of our group who's not here tonight, who's incredibly valuable, and Tony knows him, is Keith Conover with North Carolina State Department of IT. He's an invaluable resource to us. And he has a quote that he likes to use, that the solution is a network of solutions. What was it? A patchwork of solutions. There's not going to be, Marsh Broadband can't serve every person in McDowell County. Can't happen. It's not going to happen. Charter can't serve every person in McDowell County. So there's going to be gaps no matter what we do. And so what our group's primary goal is to find out where those gaps are and how we can try to find partnerships to fill the gaps. So before we get started, if you're a part of the Broadband Action Team, would you please stand up? So we have leaders in our community. We have 13 people that are in our group, all volunteers, all work full-time jobs. Thank you all. And they're each bringing their area of expertise and skill sets to the conversations that we're having. And as Keith likes to say, I'm just the polished guy, but I think you'll say that he's the polished one if you look. Started that one a little early tonight, sorry. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but I want to tell you, so far we've done 1,500 internet surveys, and we were really amazed within the 200 or 300 respondents, we got the same information pretty much just started perpetuating itself. The data showed us that only about 30% of people have access to broadband speeds. Broadband by the federal definition is 25 meg load down, 3 megabits up. That's the FCC's definition. Only 30% of our county has that available to them today. We also found out that over 5,000 households rely on a cell phone as their only mechanism of internet access. It's actually 5,184, but has anyone here ever traveled and tried to do business and your only way to do the business and send the files is through the cell phone? It's pretty difficult. So the data also drives home the point that lack of internet impacts families' ability to earn additional income. It impacts distance learning accessibility. If I wanted to, I'm going to do this because I do this every time. My wife, how many times did you go to ECU to get your master's degree? Had she not had good, solid internet access, she would have not gotten that. And that made a difference in our family because she worked for the system when you actually got a raise when you got a master's degree. So that did lots of things. Further her education, also made our family earn more money. After a really great conversation with Kim Effler last Friday, we're going to knock around the idea of having a printed survey that could be at county locations, libraries, other institutions that would like to host this with a little drop box, because we see kind of the irony of having a broadband access that the only way you can reach is by going online. So we're going to try to have a printed piece that folks can gain access to. A couple of snapshots from the surveys, the areas of McDowell County. You'll see that by far Old Fort, Glenwood, Sugar Hill areas are the big gaping holes. Also Nebo represented. These were at that time, 1,282 people had responded to the survey, and they were asked, where are you from? Well, you can see the three biggest slices of pies. That's where they're telling them from. They're from Old Fort, they're from Glenwood, Sugar Hill area, and they're from Nebo. Now, some of those others are not much smaller than those, but the little sliver in town, Marion, by far has the highest connectivity rate, right? Downtown Marion, and you can see how it changes when you go out. So again, at this point, we had almost 1,300 respondents. And the question was, has the lack of internet access kept you from earning more income? Patrick, what's that number say on the wall over there? I can't reach it from here. 47. So how many people responded that it had impacted them, said yes, was in blue? Almost 50% of the folks, of 1,200, almost 1,300 folks, said that lack of internet has impacted my family's ability to earn additional income. So it's not just kids playing Xboxes, streaming videos. Now that's part of it, but it's go find a 15-year-old and ask them to do anything, and the first thing they're going to do is try to connect to the Wi-Fi to figure out how to do it. That's how they think. That's the reality of it. But this is really what started this whole conversation: student impact. So when we had the students pick up their Chromebooks this year, they had to answer about 10 questions. The two biggest of these questions were to the parent: do you have a school-aged child in the home? And you see that percentage. Do you ever take your student somewhere with internet access so they can complete school assignments? And we see consistently 33% of the parents say, I have to take my school-aged child somewhere. It could be whoever's house, it could be McDonald's, it could be wherever, but they're not home in their living room or in their room doing their homework. They're in the back seat of a car or in a neighbor's living room. And I've personally experienced that. I know other people in this room have personally experienced that. And that really is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back and really lit the fire for Keith and I to say, we've got to find a way so these kids aren't literally riding around in cars going to McDonald's to do their homework. There is no excuse for that. There's none. So I'm going to throw some numbers at you, because at the end of the day, this is how we make it real. This all sounds great. We've collected a lot of information, but what does any of it mean? 3,600. That's how many households report having no access to internet in this county. That's 20% in the county, or 9,234 individuals. 9,234 individuals, or 20% of all households. 1,200, what's that number? Let's see what that number is. That's the number of student households that report having no access to internet services. That's 20% of our student population says we don't have access to it. Either we can't get it or we can't afford it. Either way, you can't get it, right? 20%. What's our dropout rate? Does anyone know right now what our high school dropout rate is? See if there's a correlation. Bet you'd be amazed at how close it is to 20%. 5,184. What is that number? That number is the number of households that rely on a cell phone hotspot to access the internet at home. That's almost 30% of our population in our county have to rely on this, which has, in a lot of cases, a data plan attached to it. And if you go over, you pay more. Or if you drop it and it breaks, you can't use it. So there's a lot of limitations to relying on this device. And this is really, again, just reiterating the number I just showed you. 33%, 1/3 of the parents report having to take their child to a location other than home to access the internet to complete their school assignments. We need to do a better job. Simple as that. How are we going to do it? So our group said, man, this is a really big problem. You know, because if it were easy, it'd been done years ago, right? There's some areas, no matter what, you're not going to get fiber to them. There's some areas that you're not going to get coax to them. You're going to have to look at other technologies. You're going to have to look at wireless technology. You're going to have to look at point-to-point, other things to do. And so we decided as an organization to break our group down into 3 work groups. We have a planning and partnership group. If you're here representing McBat and part of that group, please raise your hand. If you're part of the planning and partnership group. Okay. Keith and I, by the way, are part of all of them. If you're part of the technical and implementation group, please raise your hand. And if you're part of the community outreach and education, raise your hand. Okay. So you can kind of see what they're named and know what they do, but we've tasked the group with splitting among yourselves, taking on responsibilities, and next month come back and tell us what you found, right? Right now, we're just looking at the technical components of this and how do we raise money, because the reality is that we as a county don't know all the tools we have available to us. No one has done a top-to-bottom strategic map of bandwidth in this county. And in a minute, I'm going to get to that's what we want to accomplish, because just like when you reached out to an architect to design the latest thing that the county is going to build, you didn't just say, okay, your past work looks great, go ahead and start building. You expected a set of blueprints, right? Any project that this group has undertaken, they've expected a blueprint to show them in phases and in money and how it's all going to work out to get to where we want to go. And we expect to do the same thing. And it starts with a planning and feasibility study so we can understand what the infrastructure in the ground, on the poles, is available that we can have access to moving forward. So what have we done since July? We have designed and developed a new website. You can check that out at connectmcdowell.org. We've collected over 1,500 access surveys. I want to feel like we've really strengthened a lot of local and regional institutions. We've brought in the YMCA, the school system, McDowell Technical Community College, and the Health Coalition, just to name a few, that have all said, tell us how we can help. What we're finding out is these other entities that were in here earlier, the Food Hub, Health Coalition, their ability to deliver their programs, in a lot of cases, may rely on technology to do that. And so when you walk into a room these days, you flip that light switch, you just expect the light switch to come on. And so many folks will go to do a thing and realize, oh, we can't do it. No one's thinking of that. That's what our group is trying to do. Think of those things to build that infrastructure to support the programs to make our community better and stronger. So in September, we partnered with the McDowell Health Coalition and applied for the Gateway Grant to fund that planning and feasibility study. Actually met with them today, Christy and I did, and they tell us that they should be announcing awardees within 10 to 15 days. That was right from the big man's mouth, so we'll see. And I think the big thing here to me is the takeaway. The school systems have Mark Garrett Berryhill have said, tell us how we can help. Whether it's using our facilities, using our buses, we're getting ready to beta test a secure wireless component that the activity buses can use when they travel. It's SIPA compliant, just like the internet is in school, so the kids can't go to places they shouldn't go. They can still do their homework. We're really close to pulling the trigger on a beta test for that, so these kids can do their homework on these late nights coming back. And we very easily could, the college is interested in including that piece in their tuition for their adult learners who live in these outlying areas. Dr. Gossett told me 2 weeks ago that 78% of his curriculum right now relies on internet access. He expects in 2 years that 94% of his curriculum will rely on internet access. Yet they have no mechanism in place to help their students connect to the internet. So we're having conversations with them to see if we could offer a tool that would help their students. So what are we trying to accomplish here? Our first step is we've got to get this planning and feasibility study done and paid for. We reached out to an engineering group who's done this in 7 other counties in North Carolina. They gave us a price and they gave us a time frame. Now, if we get the Gateway Grant, that's paid for. If we don't, we need to keep looking for money.
How much did y'all apply for the Gateway Grant?
The initial, it included staffing and the engineering study was around $90,000. Truth be told, initially, if we break this down and look at it like we're building a house, you don't need to get the shovels out of the back of the truck until you have the blueprints ready. So if we had to boil it down to its bare minimums, we need that planning and feasibility study before we do anything on the ground with staff or anything else. That needs to happen first. Phase 2 would be implementation of that study. We would walk away once we had this study complete and look at identifying the highest risk areas, the densest population of low and free reduced lunch student populations, and focus on serving those areas first with whatever technology is available. This could be information that Mars Broadband could have access to and say, look, you want to partner with us to try to maybe get out of your comfort zone a little bit and reach into a market you've maybe not really messed with. I want to make sure, I'm so glad you're here because I want to make sure that not only this group, but the existing terrestrial providers understand that this is in no way, shape, or form trying to create competition. We want to invite the existing providers to honestly do a better job, and you're one of the few that are. I wish other existing providers would do as Morris has done. But at the end of the day, we can't rely on these entities to do the best thing for our county. We have to take some level of ownership in it and fill the gaps in, right? So what are we going to do until then we get funding? We're going to continue to research. We're going to continue to make relationships. We're going to go to meetings. We're going to do video conferences. I'm going to keep going around to community forums and talking until people start throwing vegetables at me. And raise this awareness because we want to hear from the people. We want to hear what it means for you. Just a quick show of hands. How many people in this room have ordered anything online for the Christmas holidays?
Shop local.
So easily 2/3 of the room. So the last thing is, we're not coming asking for money, even though, don't get me wrong, if you've got a checkbook back there, we'll talk to you about it. But the fact is at some point, this group, I feel like will want to be involved in this process. And the earlier the better. Because we're getting a lot of traction. Folks are talking to us. Folks wants to be involved. We had the governor's task force came a couple of months ago now. And Keith Conover from the North Carolina Department of IT stood up and recognized Keith and I and said that McDowell County is doing more to further its own connectivity issues than any county west of Raleigh. So we should be proud of what we're doing. We should be proud of what we're doing. And how can you help? Number one, support what we're trying to do. If you hear somebody in grocery line, hear somebody at church, hear somebody, say, you know what, we got a group of folks that are working towards that, right? You can volunteer your story. If you're a person who says, you know what, I've driven my grandchild to go to McDonald's, go to our website. There's a place where you can put that story on there, right? We're collecting these stories. Eventually, we want to generate video content to go with the stories and humanize the fact that how it's impacting people. Yes. And then, obviously, you guys could partner with our team in whatever fashion. Our meetings are open to the public. We meet every third Wednesday at 3 o'clock at the Universal Classroom Building. We will not be meeting this Wednesday, but we will in January. Are there any questions?
I'll just say, Chris, that your group is here again. You see the need. You're trying to do what you can to meet the need and to move the ball forward. And hats off, and we'll partner any way we can moving forward with you. So thanks for all you guys are doing. It's needed. We've got to do all we can to get that in the ground.
I pay about $140 a month for nothing. For nothing.
You're not alone.
I have no service at all. And I'm paying that to have service.
But it's unusable for all
It's unusable.
I want to interject and say that Brenda's been to a couple of our meetings and has been a liaison in between the board and our group. And we appreciate everything she and you guys have done to be an ear and keep the head to the ground. My little blurb is, you know, in the early 1900s, we made sure that we got power, sewer, and water everywhere. It's 2019, almost 2020. It's the day and time that we started treating the internet and broadband as a utility, and our county step up and do whatever it takes. Maybe we need to be the first county to declare that we want broadband to be a utility. I'm very impressed that he's bumping up to the 25 and 3, because until that, their lowest plan was not broadband. You can ask a room of people who has broadband, 60%, give or take, will raise their hand. Then when you say, do you have 25 down by 3 up, the hands start dropping. That's the things we need to do. Our county finds money for projects. We fund other things. Tony would tell you that if you call 1-800-MORRIS, or you call 1-800-SPECTRUM, or whoever, and you say, can you service this address? The answer from 1-800 may be no. But if they're subsidizing of monies, and we determine an area, and we communicate directly with their sales team and say, we've got a pocket of 30 homes over here, what would it take for you and your crew, dollar-wise, to get there? Then let's find a way to get that money, be it grants, be it private, be it whatever, and let's start making this stuff happen. That's kind of my spiel.
All right. Okay, great. Y'all, we'll just keep working together. Keep the eye on the target, keep it moving forward. It's all we can do together, and it'll happen. It will. All right, thanks so much for that presentation, Chris. Absolutely. Great. And Keith, thank you. And everybody working on the committee, thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Let's go to item C under old business. This is a policy update. This is the second reading. Mr. Wooten, sir, if you don't mind, lead us out on this.
Yes, sir. Last month, we had a first reading for our vacation policy for county employees. Noted at that point, it really wasn't changing any of the policy itself. It was just clarifying some of the language to make sure that employees that are giving a notice understand, 2-week notice, that in order to get their vacation payout, they have to give a 2-week notice. They have to work 70% of that time, including the last day. So that was very straightforward, and we have a second reading here. Not to complicate things, but perhaps complicate things just a hair. Presented this at the department head meeting that we have the day after the commissioners meeting. Had a an idea. I don't think it ever really been talked about before, brought forward by a department head. So right now, the minimum that an employee would have to work is 90 days. And they can work on that 91st day, give their 2-week notice, and get a vacation payout. A suggestion from the department head was to make it a minimum of 12 months. And so, you know, if you're not here, if you work 11 months and 2 weeks and you decide you want to go somewhere else, not reward them with that vacation payout and retain that, that incentive. That's a benefit that you provide to employees as far as vacation. That's at your discretion. So,
Mr. Wooten, what is the standard? What would counties similar to McDowell County, what would, have you checked to see what kind of?
we've not, this is a hard thing to dig up. Believe Maria, HR Director, has looked for an example. We've not come up with one yet. Where it doesn't really, there was a policy change about a year ago where, again, to be more competitive, so this is a little bit of a double-edged sword. The policy was changed about a year ago to be more competitive in this marketplace, to give folks that have come from other local government employers credit for their time served. So if you work 20 years in Buncombe County or City of Marion, it didn't matter, we will honor your years of service for your accrual rate. So when you start off, you're earning about 6 hours a month. If you came in from somewhere else where you've worked 20 years, we would bump that as if you worked here 20 years. So this is really the people that it could affect that are potentially bouncing around from different employers. We've had this happen at least once or twice fairly recently, where greener pastures are calling, I guess, and they look and move, and we're paying out for their vacation time at a higher rate than we.
So what was the community to the board? Was it overwhelmingly all your supervisors were in favor of this? Give us some kind of feel for what.
Right, it was a suggestion from one department head, and we didn't do a poll if people thought that was a good idea or not, but it's a suggestion, and if you wanted to think on it.
Yeah, we need.
I think we need
This
to
is
table-
kind of
table
this is a first reading on that change, and so just to mull it
Make a
over.
motion, we table it and,
Okay, have a motion table, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye, any opposed, like sign.
Did you want to make the change on the other language for now, since that one was pretty straightforward, and come back at some future date on the?
well, you know, I made the motion, we tabled it, and I assumed that covered all of it at this point in time.
If you,
Just do it all at one time.
can I be contrary? Can we do the
No, you can't
language?
be contrary.
Okay. Can we do the language adjustment, because that is causing some issues for us, but come back, table the item on the 90 days or 12 months?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be all right. So I amend my motion. I make a motion that we table the first part and let him go ahead and work with staff on.
The timing
it would
will
be
be
the timing
tabled,
would be on this.
and the language clarification will be
Okay.
approved after second reading, if that's okay.
Second.
Okay, so I have an amended motion to the effect of what you just stated, Ashley, and a second. Okay, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye, any opposed, like sign.
You have a great clerk. That will straighten all that out.
She's,
Okay, thank you.
she deals with us all the time.
No muddy water in it.
Let's go to new business, item A. This will be administrative items. Mr. Wood, go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Yes, sir. The first item, this is something that you had talked about probably about 3 months ago, and staff had worked on after that. Whenever the county seeks to lease property to, whether it's a City of Marion or a private entity, we're required by statute to advertise that in the newspaper for good reason. And one of the results of a recent advertisement brought forth some information for a lease we were seeking, which we're now not seeking, was a proposed cell phone tower at Sandy Andrews Park. And so this ad ran in the paper with this intention. It came to light that the family that originally donated that property, the Andrews family, which is in the name, had made it known that there was a very strong preference that it be retained only for recreation and nothing else. And so staff was asking that the item be just, removed from consideration. If you wanted to make a vote to...
Sure. Yep, Mr. Andrews, Tom Andrews, and Roger Andrews, and Jeff Banks have talked to several board members, and at the time, we weren't aware that this was donated and the items that went into that, and so...
I make a motion, we withdraw
Yeah.
the intent, and...
When a family donates property to be used for a specific purpose, I don't think we need to deviate from that.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, motion second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay.
And we'll let the company know so they can be looking for other sites.
And we just came out of two different appointment items where broadband was the topic and all that. And this cell phone tower, there's other suitable land right close to the property location that the cell phone company can seek to talk to property owners about. That way, we're not hurting the capability to receive signal to an area that may need it. Okay.
The other items, Mr. Chairman, are fairly straightforward. You're required by statute to approve the compensation for the jury commission, and these are three individuals that picked the jury list, and you're being asked by the clerk of court in her memo to approve their $500 payment for the...
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion approved. Request. Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign.
You have two water system waivers, one of $28.41 and $28.62, and that's $28.41 and $28.62.
Maybe we approve the waiver.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign.
There's a resolution closing out a building reuse grant with Crane Resistaflex, and I ask you to approve.
Motion approved resolution.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Then you have budget amendments GF 26 through 30.
Move we approve the budget amendments as presented.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
It's all under admin items. Thank you.
all right. Mr. Wood, let's go to item B under new business. This will be our 2020 meeting schedule.
This item, our esteemed clerk had pointed out that it is probably a good practice for the board to approve our meeting schedule just for the whole upcoming year. It's subject to change with weather and that sort of thing, but we wanted to make sure that you approve it. We will note on the attached page there that January 20th of 2020, when you would normally have your DSS meeting with the director, that is the holiday, and staff would suggest and/or request that you move that to a different date, since we will be closed.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
So move.
Have a motion, have a second?
So right now, it would be the 20th.
20th.
So we can, the 27th, if you'd like to keep it on a Monday.
The 27th, I think, is what we were looking at, wasn't it?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you. Let's go to item C under new business, tax matters, releases, rebills. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir, anything?
These are all routine, no special items in
Move
here.
we approve tax matters.
Okay, have a motion, second. Discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let's go down to D under new business, the radon proclamation. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir.
Right, this is a proclamation that the Department of Health and Human Services has asked every county to endorse for January, declaring as Radon Awareness Month. At times, Cooperative Extension has received the radon testing kits. I haven't spoken to Molly if they're going to get those in this year, but if there is interest, this is an area that does have some level of radon. We can get folks in touch with resources if there's interest. We'd ask that you approve.
Move we approve the radon proclamation for January.
Okay, have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let's go to item E, the resolution endorsing school performance changes. Mr. Wooten, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. The Board of Commissioners met with the school board several weeks ago in a joint meeting setting. Mr. Garrett, the superintendent, did a great job talking about some of the initiatives of the school board and the performance of the schools. There were some comments made that as far as the school testing, where the schools have the grades, there was a tremendous amount of weight placed on those school grades, the ABCs, et cetera, and you see in your resolution what those are for our schools. There's 80% of the weight is based on test results. So end of grade test, end of course, graduation rates, et cetera, and 20% are based on more intangibles. And so there was, I think, some interest in having that looked at a state level to where, these, very stressful days for these students and teachers and parents and everyone else, maybe have a second look at that, and where you don't lower standards, I don't think was what was recommended, and it's not in the resolution, but just have it re-examined to where not all of that is put in the one basket.
Okay.
This is what this would do, and if you approve it, we would send it to DPI and our legislators.
Okay, comments, questions?
Move that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. I will add for people present that we do appreciate our school board. We have Patrick Ellis with us tonight, and they are just a great bunch of men and women. We work with them. We meet once a month. For everybody present, once a month we meet and work on issues between the school system, the community college, and the board, seeing how we can move the ball and make this the best that it can be in the state as far as education goes. So, Patrick, thanks to your board and all you guys do, men and women. All right, let's go to our last item on the agenda. This will be citizen comment. Is there anybody present here tonight that wishes to speak? If so, just need you to come up and sign your name and your topic right here, and we'll hear you gladly. We have no one else present. Anybody else here want to speak? We'll give you one more opportunity. Okay, if not, let's go to reports, communications. Mr. Wooten, do you have anything, Chair or board members?
Did want to note our closings for Christmas and for New Year's, if that's okay, quickly. We'll put this in the newspaper and contact the radio as well, but the county offices will be closed December 24th, 25th, and 26th for Christmas, and that mirrors exactly the state closure schedule. Will be closed January 1st as well for New Year's Day. We will, maybe more importantly for folks, we do get a lot of calls, texts, et cetera, on the 26th of December, sites that will be open that day. Our convenient sites will be open because we've learned we have to be open the day after Christmas for the rush of wrapping paper and those sorts of things. So we learn not to close on that day, but it is appreciated for the break for those that can take it, and for those that can't, like our law enforcement, like folks at DSS on call, those working the convenience sites, et cetera. Their service is definitely appreciated for when everyone else is at home, and it is recognized, that sacrifice. I did just want to mention that, and again, we will put that, post that online, newspaper, radio, so folks aren't caught unawares. So if folks have questions about calendar, they can contact us and just be sure. But I just want to make sure that's known.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we always give our Christmas greeting and read the Christmas story at this meeting, and I'll start with Commissioner Green. Commissioner Green, if you want to go ahead and do your Christmas greeting, and we'll come down to the table.
This Christmas season is very special to me. I've been thinking lately about how that when I was a child, used to go to my grandparents, and there would be like 60, 70 people in my grandparents' house for Christmas, and the time that we spend as family. But now I've got 9 grandbabies of my own, and I start getting excited when the holidays come around, especially Christmas, just to watch them. So I can only imagine how she felt. But I guess what I'm trying to say in all of that is I hope that each and every one of you have that excitement this Christmas season, and don't forget what it's all about. And that was the best gift that has ever been given to mankind, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Merry Christmas.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Green. Mr. Brown?
I think this is a time of year when we spend time with our family, the close people in our lives. It's a wonderful time to do that, and it allows us to get closer to our family and to our friends. Some of us, like myself, most of my family has already tragically passed away, been killed or passed away, and so my family is very small. But I still have the memories of those Christmases that we spent together. My mother and my father and two siblings, and of course my son, have all gone on. But I still have those wonderful memories of the glorious memories that we spent together at Christmas time, and I thank God for that. I have those memories. And I'd like to wish today to each and every one of you out there that's sitting here and also that's watching tonight a very Merry Christmas, and I hope that God blesses you in a very special way this Christmas season.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioner Barrett?
I was sitting there thinking as we spoke about the food hub and went back probably when I was about 6 years old. I remember my dad worked at air preheater and he became disabled, and that year we weren't sure what we were going to get for Christmas. We knew we had food on the table because we raised a garden ourselves. We didn't go to the grocery store and buy a lot of food. Our food was in potatoes and green beans and canned corn or frozen corn, and we had a freezer. It took about 6 people to haul out and 2 to haul a brand new one in. And I remember my dad calling, he was in a body cast for about 6 months, from his chest down to below one of his knees, and he called us into the bedroom that day, and he gave my brother a Browning Sweet 16 made in Belgium. Boy, I thought that was something. And then he reached over and grabbed a little Winchester, which I still have in my gun safe, 2 of them, matter of fact. And but he reached over and gave me a little Winchester Model 62A pump rifle, which is still in my gun safe, and that was my Christmas present. And then at the same time, you can call it coincidental, but knock came on the door as a bunch of those guys from Air Preheater showed up with a pickup truck full of food and presents for us. Probably in my 53 years, that was the best Christmas I've ever had. I've never gotten over that fact. And 53 years old, it's okay to break down a little bit because I've been there. And but we never went hungry. I never missed a meal, as you can tell. And we were closed. But that was absolutely the best Christmas that I can ever remember in my life. I too have lost my parents, my brother. It's just my wife and kids and 2 granddaughters. And matter of fact, I don't even have my tree up yet, so I'm not Scrooge, but it's just we've been busy. But I want to wish all county employees, the residents of McDowell County, a very Merry Christmas. And I pray that God will truly bless you the way He has me in 53 years.
Thank you, Barry. Cheryl, go ahead as clerk to the board. You and Ashley also.
It's funny, as you were talking, time with family is just so precious. The older I get, the more precious it becomes to me. So I just wish everyone would take the time to spend with the family and to take time to truly celebrate this season for what it is, for Christ's birth. And may everyone have a very Merry Christmas, and God bless you all.
Okay, and our county manager will give his greeting.
It's hard, like I said earlier, that's hard to top, but we do, my family and I appreciate this community and what it means for us. We've made our home here for a very long time now, and hope we stay here a long time. But the county employees here, they care about this community, and I think that shows on a daily basis. And enjoy being part of that family as well of employees. We saw that last week at our gathering, how important that is. But again, really blessed, and we're never want to forget the reason for why we're off on those days. The break is nice, but that's not what it's about. And I think that we can't forget that. And again, I appreciate this board for the support you give me personally, and I hope for great things in 2020 and a great Christmas and New Year's for all of us.
Thank you, Ashley. I want to say from myself and my family, we hope you have a great Christmas. God has been so good to all of us sitting around here tonight. Just hearing my fellow commissioners and Cheryl and Ashley, and hearing all the needs tonight, it's and the passion pleased by everybody here tonight. There's a lot of needs, and I'm glad that the greatest need, though, I'll go on record and say this: the greatest need of anybody is to be born again,
right.
To have Jesus Christ come into their heart and life, and that you just start living then. To me, salvation is the foundational point, and I'm so glad that Christmas it's fun. We go sing. We went Christmas caroling in the youth at church. We made gingerbread houses with the little kids Saturday night, and then we took them out Christmas caroling to some older people in the church's homes, and that was great. And just the privilege to get to go to church and live in a nation where we have the freedom to go to church wherever you attend, and that's a real blessing. And I just want to say I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and it's an honor to get to serve you, to hear what's going on in your lives, and to be able to try to be just a piece of the puzzle as a board that could try to make something good happen, Gabe. Your story was moving, and thanks for sharing with us tonight. And so Merry Christmas from me and my family to yours. And we always end with a Christmas story, and then we'll adjourn the meeting. So Commissioner Peters will read that out, Luke chapter number 2.
Apologize, I did not bring my Bible with me tonight. I do have my a Bible app on my phone where I read every morning or anywhere I'm at, so that way it's always good to have you a Bible app on your phone if you misplace your Bible. But I want to read in Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 22. And it says, "It came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth unto Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you, you shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. And it came to pass as the angels were gone away from them into heaven, the shepherds said one to another, Let us go now even unto Bethlehem, and see this thing which is come to pass, which the Lord hath made known unto us. And they came with haste, and found Mary, and Joseph, and the babe lying in a manger. And when they had seen it, they made known abroad the saying which was told them concerning this child. And all they that heard it wondered at those things which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things, and pondered them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they had heard and seen, as it was told unto them. And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was named by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. And when the days of her purification according to the law of Moses were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord.
During a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.